Awesome, awesome. So I'll give you a quick intro just so you know who the random guy who reached out on IG is, and then we can chat if that's cool with you.
Yeah, sounds good.
Awesome. Awesome. So I'm Awais Durrani. I'm the guy who created Texas Tasty back when I was at Texas in 2013. Started was like as a stereotypical food page posting about restaurants around campus, around downtown Austin and whatnot. And it kind of grew at that time. I've obviously continued to post on there. There's two other folks that kind of joined me over the course of the years who run the page. And then kind of a bigger part of Texas Tasty is obviously through kind of the front facing stuff, the podcast, the social pages, blog, we get, restaurants and whatnot reaching out to us. So we, work with them on SEO, social media, things like that.
Right.
I am not, like 100% involved with it at this point. I went on to med school. I'm an emergency medicine physician, live in Houston. I try to make it out to Austin, once a month just for, fun stuff happening. There's always fun stuff happening. And so
Are you born and raised from Houston?
yes. Born and raised in Houston, went to
High
school in
school did you go
Austin,
to?
Bel Air High School.
I went to Bel Air.
No way.
Yeah, go
Well,
Cardinals.
yeah, go Cardinals. They, I'm not sure if you've been in that area recently. They tore it down completely and doing a
Yeah,
complete redo.
I saw it. I haven't seen the redo, but I saw like half of the school falling apart, from the
Yeah,
picture stuff. That's crazy. So what year did you graduate?
2009
Oh, from high school?
from high school. Yeah, and then from college in 2013.
Okay, cool. I'm
What
a
about?
lot older than you.
Nice, nice. Yeah, small world. So you grew up in Houston, I assume as well then?
Yeah, we grew up in the Bel Air, Meyerland area, went to Bel Air, and then I came to University of Texas Film School. And then I was out in LA for like 10 to 12 years working with Quincy Jones, producing films and helping comedians and artists kind of find good deals.
Nice, nice. Well, that is awesome. And so to kind of finish up, over the last, I'd say maybe year or so, I've developed a Web3 kind of NFT obsession, if you will.
Yeah,
And then I'd say maybe over the last couple months, I've been, figuring out how can I, learn more about this in a way that's more than scrolling through Twitter and trying to mint the latest craze and flip it, which it seems like a lot of it is. And so that's where this idea came from, having conversations with folks that are actually in the space and are doing something that is long term rather than kind of what this flip culture is. And so I've had a few conversations. Obviously my friends who run Texas Tasty on a kind of more daily basis know about you and you being involved in blockchain creative labs, and they've seen you doing stuff in Austin and interact with you through social media. And so they were like, hey, you should talk to this dude. And so that's how I came to reach out, and was very happy when you responded. And so that's
cool.
kind of quick lowdown on me. But I'll start with kind of you kind of alluded to it. You were in LA and worked in entertainment and whatnot, but you also are, just kind of looking at the stuff you do, are involved with a lot of stuff in Austin. And Austin seems to be kind of place where all the new cool things are happening. And so what kind of do you do on a day-to-day basis? And then we'll kind of dive into some of the more Web3
Yeah.
topics.
So I have a company called FlexDef. That's the jersey right there. We're a marketing and promotion company. So we brought Beyond Van Gogh to Coda, invited your team out there. That was last summer. We sold over 100,000 tickets. I'm in the process of opening up a hotel in Galveston that I'd love to get you guys out there for. It's going to be the only private beach club in all of Texas. And it's going to be very similar to like San Jose hotel, kind of bunkhouse feel. What's going to be more upscale. And then my day-to-day job is I'm the vice president of brand partnerships and talent relations at Blockchain Creative Labs, which is the NFT Web3 division for Fox Entertainment.
Nice. So a lot of stuff on your plate.
Yeah.
When I only made it to South by, one day this year, but kind of watching from afar and following what was going on in social media. You know, I can think back to like the Twitter South by Southwest, where like Twitter came about and everyone was like, you know, this is the thing. I can think back to the one where Uber came, and then it seemed like this one was where, you know, it was showtime for Web3 and NFTs, and it was, you know, everyone I think who went and came back, that was kind of the thing that stuck with them. And so obviously you were a big part of that, Blockchain Creative Labs being a huge, you know, sponsor of South by Southwest, having numerous events there. How did you kind of, you know, join Blockchain Creative Labs, and what was your first introduction to Web3 and kind of that world?
Yeah, so my introduction to Blockchain Creative Labs was the CEO of Bento Box, which is Fox Animation's animation studio that does like Bob's Burger. They do Central Park. They do a lot of the shows on Netflix. Scott Greenberg's the CEO. He wrote a memo about how Web3 is going to be the future of network television. And so it went over really well with Lachlan Murdoch and Rupert Murdoch. And so they gave him $100 million fund to create Blockchain Creative Labs. And we came up with the name Blockchain Creative Labs because it's kind of exactly what we're trying to do. Blockchain is the technology we're using, creative because our roots are in animation in the back, you know, of entertainment. And then labs because we just have a bunch of hypotheses that we're, you know, experimenting with right now. So Scott came to me, told me that he just got Blockchain Creative Labs going. And I said, you know, the first thing you need to do is we should be the super sponsor for South by Southwest because it's going to be the first year back. There's going to be all eyes on it. There's a lot of hype and excitement around it. And so I convinced him to be the super sponsor for South by Southwest. And then we needed a really big act to come. And so I read an article that said Dolly Parton was writing a book with James Patterson called Run, Rose, Run. So we reached out to her team. We brought Dolly Parton down. We NFT'd her album and we streamed the whole concert on the blockchain.
Yeah, that was awesome to see from afar, just all the excitement around it. And, you know, even knowing people who are, you know, not as obsessed as me with this technology and whatnot, learning about it and talking to friends and them telling me about, you know, different interactions they had with, you know, what you guys had, what other brands had that was Web3 based. Of course, the Dolly Parton, you know, show was a huge
yeah. I mean,
part
like
of the.
Duos had a really big presence. Fluff had a really big presence. I mean, it was definitely like how you said the 2007 kind of Twitter era. This was definitely the entry into Web3.
Absolutely. What, you know, when you were having conversations with whether it was the folks at South by Southwest or Dolly Parton's team, you know, people that may not be coming from the background of, you know, being Web3 or haven't been involved with it for the last 3 or 4 years, what were those conversations like? Were they open to it? What, I guess, was that initial reaction?
It's hard, right? So, you know, you keep on saying you're new to this, but I mean, we're all new to this, right? This technology hasn't been around for that long. And if you're crypto native, that literally just means you're like 3-4 years into this, right? I mean, with NFTs, right? You could talk about Bitcoin and all that stuff, but crypto native in terms of non-fungible tokens, it's really only been around for 3 or 4 years. So it was a huge education process. And so we took over, I can't remember, we took over Trinity Hall and for 4 days, and we put on massive activations. And the goal of the activations at South by were to educate and get people to download a MetaMask wallet, to understand what that means, and then to interact with some of the artists and filmmakers who've been selected by South by Southwest. So we really saw this as our first opportunity to be the tour guide and shepherd into mainstream America understanding what Web3 is.
And what do you think the reception to that was? Obviously, there was a lot of excitement, a lot of people came, but the layperson who, you know, walked through your exhibit or came to one of your talks and left, Was it, obviously when I talk to, say, my parents, they're like, oh, this sounds scammy or whatever. That's like that thing that they walk away with. When that person came out, what was that, thing that they left with, would you say?
I would say that they were educated. I think the technology is still really new. And so there's still a lot of problems. Buying a NFT is not an easy thing, right? Web2
Yeah.
came out and it was like posting pictures on Facebook and Instagram. And it was just very intuitive of like, okay, I get this, right? I'll connect with you and we'll share stuff and you'll like it and make comments. But now, because people are actually owning things and we're moving into this ownership economy, it gets really complicated. And so I felt like people were super excited about Web3, about learning about this stuff, but there's still a huge learning curve of what it means to have multiple wallets and transfer money from Coinbase to MoonPay to try to buy certain NFTs. So I feel like this was a good learning experience. We're already starting to plan for 2023 and finding ways to make it more adaptable. I don't think anyone has really figured it out yet how to make mainstream America adapt easy to Web3. And I think whoever can crack that code is going to be, the leader in the space.
Absolutely. Do you see over, I would say, the next year, 2 years, 5 years, what seems like a lot of the NFT and Web3 world right now is collectability, whether, it's collecting the first of something or being the first project to do something. And I guess for me, in the conversations and things that, from what I understand, utility is where, that mass adoption may come. And so I guess with what Blockchain Creative Labs is doing, what do you see in terms of utility, what that might be the next step when it comes to the entertainment world and what you guys might be doing?
Absolutely. So that's a great question. And I think that the future of all NFT projects are going to be honed in on the utility, the access that this NFT brings you or gets you. And so we had a huge learning experience. We brought Dolly Parton down, we NFT'd her album, we NFT'd a poster, but we didn't create any utility for it. So there was no real, why should I buy this? Except you're a Dolly Parton fan, but you didn't get access to her fan club. You didn't get access to backstage pass or anything like that. So that was really a big learning curve for us. So what we're doing moving forward is we have the rights for WWE. So we're the exclusive partner for all their NFTs and digital goods. We're looking to launch May 20th, and all of these NFTs, the marketplace are going to have utilities. Maybe that's working out with your favorite wrestler. Maybe that's getting to walk him down to the arena. Maybe it's, getting into the locker room or getting floor seats at WrestleMania and things like that. So I feel like, utility is going to be the main key that's going to get mainstream America to adopt to Web3.
That's really, really cool. And that's obviously something that's going to get a lot of people excited. It's also, it's also, interesting for me to see that, Fox, who is, a legacy brain, has been around for a long, long time, has, all the connections, everything is jumping into this space. And it's nice to see some of those legacy brands seeing that this is the future and making those moves. And, you usually don't think of that. You usually think of, the kind of the dinosaurs not getting it, but it's nice to see, someone like Fox getting it.
Well, Fox missed out on the streaming wars and they were always kind of kicking themselves, but now they're super happy because if you look at Netflix and Disney and CNN Plus, like all that stuff kind of going by the wayside. And so that gave us an opportunity to really focus on Web3. And Fox has always been kind of ahead of the curve. If you think about it, they were the first people to put animation on Sunday night prime time. With American Idol, they taught America how to text, right? Ryan Seacrest telling people to pull out your phone, vote, XYZ was really helping 45, 50 million people at the height of American Idol learning how to text. And so we want to do the same thing with Web3 and have people, we talk about the waitress in Wisconsin, really understand what it means to own a token, what it means to own an NFT, and why it's of value.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to put it. You obviously are involved in the entertainment space, but are there other kind of, I guess, industries or projects or things people are doing from afar that may have caught your attention where you're like, that's an interesting use case or concept that sticks out to you?
I mean, we're constantly looking at all the NFT projects. So like the latest one that I just read about was Moonbirds. I don't know if you're familiar with this. I mean, again, Moonbirds is having a lot of problems that you were talking about where a lot of people were just flipping it, but they created something called nesting, which means you get actually more access to certain benefits the longer you hold. And I think that's going to be a huge, that was a huge learning curve for us or learning opportunity, because we need to apply that as well to make sure that people aren't just flipping WWE or any of our other shows that we're working on, finding ways to get people to actually hold and see the value of holding it.
Absolutely, yeah. Making it into, a utility-based kind of industry, essentially. In my kind of personal, small collections and whatnot, I, have avoided flipping, and it seems like that, works out well. Some projects will like airdrop you stuff, and then they're like, oh, I just got this thing that's, now worth that much, and if I hadn't held, I wouldn't have it. My kind of big, I've been trying to talk to folks in the healthcare world as well, and obviously healthcare is always the last to respond to new technological things like this.
Right.
And anytime I talk about NFTs or Web3, everyone around me thinks I'm crazy. Like, oh, healthcare NFTs, that's never going to happen. But it's my goal to, make it happen one day. And, the first thing I can think about is electronic health records, right? You go to one health system, you go to a different, and they don't talk to each other. They don't know what tests you got the week before. And that, electronic health records are supposed to fix that. Putting
Right.
something like that on the blockchain could do wonders and, create, the stop bureaucracy and all the resources we spend on, redundancy, essentially. So it just
Sounds like a great idea.
world.
Sounds really hard, but sounds like
Really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess my last question for you is, you're talking about family member who, is like most of our family members knows nothing about Web3 or NFTs. What's the one thing you would point them to, if they don't live in a place like Austin, they can't go to South by Southwest or things like that you would point them to and say, hey, this will solidify this concept and that this will be the future?
I mean, that's a great question. I don't have an answer for you. I mean, I would try to tell people to get, like I tell my family and my friends to get in Discords, right? And it's like, this is the new way to communicate. I used to send people to NBA Top Shots, but Top Shots doesn't have any utility to it. So you're just literally collecting these moments. I think some of these Top Shots are going to kind of fall by the wayside. Some will stay up and do really well. And Dapper Labs is super smart, so they're going to figure out a way to add utility to it. But I mean, I would say just start reading as much like on Decrypt, and then getting access to the Discords of like things that you're interested in. So every Fox animated show that we do now, we're going to have a Discord for it, and there's going to be a Web3 component to it. So if you're a huge fan of The Simpsons, Family Guy, there's going to be, an opportunity to communicate with the creators, get inside access, and kind of get a peek behind the look of what it takes to run, an animated show. We're doing Dan Harmon's new show, the guy who created Rick and Morty. It's called Cropless. And so it's actually going to have a coin called a crop coin. And we're really excited about the utility that provides. And so I think, again, I'm kind of repeating myself, but just getting into Discords is going to be the fastest learning curve to, getting up to date.
And I think what you guys are doing is obviously going to help as well, right? If you've been watching The Simpsons for 30 years and then you see something about The Simpsons and Web3 and a Discord. If it's something brand new, you might not do it, but you see The Simpsons doing it and you're like, oh, well, I'll check this out. So that might be the introduction for a whole bunch of people who.
That's our hope with WWE, right? You're talking
Yeah.
about a massive fandom of people buying, $500-$600 championship belts. Can we convert them to Web3 and see the value in owning a Undertaker NFT or Stone Cold Steve Austin? And what does that mean? So,
yeah. Well, thanks a bunch for chatting with me. I definitely learned a lot, sharing those tidbits and whatnot. I will definitely ask for maybe those 2 weeks off for next March, and hopefully you guys are still around at South by Southwest. And I want to, see some of the stuff you guys are doing in person for sure.
For sure, we'd love to have you.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to running into you in person one day. But thanks a whole bunch, and you have a good rest of your day.
All right, thank you.
Bye.